open script and I'ma read it right. Study to show thyself approved. You got to read it right. Everyday hell, I'm just trying to show eternal life. I'm just trying to show eternal life. This burning all at midnight. Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Line upon line, line upon line. Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Line upon line, make them understand doctrine. Open script.
Which one you like better? Which one you think this one gonna be? What you think is gonna be like this?
What the
That
yeah,
trumpet?
probably.
Like that?
Yeah, probably.
When the Lord come back, the trumpet gonna sound like that. Or
I mean, just times 11.
or is it gonna, you say time 11? Or is it gonna be more like this?
I mean, that's a little bit like too happy. But I mean,
But it's more vibrant.
I mean, I thought it was the first one.
Probably gonna be neither one of them, huh? Peace, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Burning Midnight Oil, right? So we did miss this past Sabbath. We ain't gonna talk about that. But this is a special edition of Burning Midnight Oil. It's not midnight. We won't finish into midnight. I'm not about to do no 3-hour class. As a matter of fact, what today is what the Bible calls the memorial of the blowing of the trumpet. It's a Sabbath day. I got my live studio audience, and the Sabbath, we call it in our world a special Sabbath. And we're going to read about it. We're going to learn a little bit about it. God gives us in the Bible holy days. The Muslims, they got their Ramadan and I don't know whatever the other days they got. And Sunday church got Christmas and Easter and all that kind of stuff, those days, and they represent their God. They doing what they God telling them to do. But when you read the Bible, and you're going to do what the Bible say do, and the rewarder is the author of the Bible, and that's the thing that he's okay. That's the thing that, a lot of people don't get when we come with the Bible. It's like, the rewarder of this book, when you read this book, the person who wrote this book is telling you to do certain things that if you don't do, you suffer the consequence. The person who wrote this book is God. And God has holy days, not holidays like Christmas. And we're going to learn about them. And one thing about these holy days is when God set them up, they show you things to come. And quite often they have affiliations with things that didn't happen so that you can learn from what happened and understand what God's going to do in the end. See, the beauty about God and the beauty about the Bible is that God wrote the end at the beginning. So throughout the pages of the book, he's able to show you what he's doing. So today our lesson is, what do we call it? The trumpet.
The trumpet, God's alarm.
God's alarm. Right. The trumpet, God's alarm. Okay. Because that's one of the things that we're going to understand is that a trumpet is like a warning. Like we have one around here. They'll blow the trumpet like almost hourly or something. But like if a tornado come through or something, then they're going to blow that. It sounds like it's a horn is what we're going to call it. You know what I mean? Which probably is going to be more like when the Lord come back. But we'll get to that. And they blow it but that's really like an emergency horn that they blow. And if it was a real emergency, like if we was at war, they'll blow that horn. If y'all ever get the opportunity to watch like World War II movies, a lot of times when they show the war that happened in Europe, a lot of times it'll be accompanied with a trumpet being blown. And we're going to understand that. But we're going to understand it from a godly level. And why, because it's in his book. And really the things that man has done, they really done plagiarized God's book. They really done took pages from God, like the priest. You know what I'm saying? When you see the popes and the cardinals and all that, like they mimicking the Levites. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a rarity that that man has taken some of the things that God did and apply it the same, because what God do make common sense. You see what I'm saying? So if you need to sound an alarm to let people know, or a trumpet to let people know something about to go down, then that's what that's gonna get everybody's attention. But at any rate, we're gonna go ahead, as always. Welcome to Burning Midnight Oil, where we give you 12 scriptures, hoping that the words that we bring will help you in your walk of salvation. We try to help you build your foundation here, so that you can have something to build on, so that you can continue to grow in the Word of God with some understanding. Because like the Bible say, with all your getting, get understanding. So we're going to start this off in Leviticus chapter 23. Now, Leviticus chapter 23 is what we like to call the writings of Moses. And Leviticus 23 is a chapter where you get all your feast days. Now, God's holy days are called feast days. There's only one holy day that we don't call a feast. And really today even, we don't call it a feast. It's a memorial of the blowing of the trumpet. But it would be the atonement. You know, that would be one where, because when we feast, biblically, when they feasted, and we'll see some of this today, these people ate, they celebrated, they partied. They were allowed to be themselves a little bit and taken out of the realm of church mode. Now, don't get it twisted. It ain't like they was doing orgies. You know, that's what, and see, you laughing, but little do people know, for Easter and New Year's and the Olympics and things of that nature, the Romans and the people, the Greeks and stuff, when they got together, they was having like orgy fest. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, you know what it kind of put you in the mind of? The Purge. It's like lawlessness when they had they festivities. Now, we deal with inside the law with the Bible, you know. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and learn about the Lord's feast days, his holidays, the days that he gave. We're going to start this off in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1 through 7. When you get there, go ahead and read, son.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts.
All right, so he's saying these are the feasts of the Lord. So these are not the Jewish feast. These are not daddy's feast or brother somebody's feast or Israel, the Church of Jesus feast. These are God's feast days. And he says, concerning the feast of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations. So that means that in each of these feasts that we look at, in this particular chapter, you have to have your holy gathering. You know what I mean? It is a commandment that you come together. All right, go ahead.
6 days shall work be done.
So the first thing he does is he goes back to that holy convocation. He goes back to your regular Sabbath so you can have a point of reference, because he had already given the children of Israel the Sabbath day. But also, when he had given them the Sabbath day, there were some more ordinances to it. For example, go ahead.
But the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest.
Yes, you already know that. Go ahead.
And holy convocation.
That's the new ordinance to it. So the 7th day, the law would be the 7th day is the Sabbath. The ordinance behind that law is you need to have a holy convocation. All of that in keeping it holy, because the Ten Commandments say, remember the Sabbath day. That would be the law, and to keep it holy. How do you keep it holy? You got to have a holy convocation. That's rule number one of the rules to it. Go ahead.
You shall do no work therein.
This is another way you keep this regular weekly Sabbath day holy. You do no work therein. You don't go to your jobs. We're not cooking. We're not working. We're not out in the yard. We're not playing football. No work. Not lifting weights. Go ahead.
It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Uh-huh.
These are the feasts.
So then he said, wherever you are, it's the Sabbath of the Lord. Go ahead.
These are the feasts of the Lord.
So really, these are the feasts. Now, you might be like, but he said concerning the feast of the Lord. Well, no, the Sabbath day is not a feast day. It's just a weekly Sabbath. Now, you might be, but it's in this chapter. It is, because that was the point of reference. He's going to the feast. That's why he says, these are the feasts of the Lord. What else?
Even holy convocations.
Even holy convocations. Right, so he said, on your feast days, have a holy convocation. Go ahead.
Which ye
or
shall,
church.
which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
And all of the feast days, and the more you study with us, you'll understand that they're agriculturally based. They're based off of the season, winter, spring, summer, fall, or summer, winter, the unleavened bread season, and the tabernacle season. For some of us, they don't like the, spring and fall is not in the Bible. You know what I mean? So they want to get, they want to go extra. Well, the season of Passover is the spring season. It comes in the month that the Bible refers to as Abib, which is when everything comes to life. That's the springtime in its season. Just like Easter. They do Easter in its season every year. You know what I mean? Like every year it's going to be late March, early April. You know what I mean? In that spring festive time period. All right, go ahead. What verse?
5.
Uh-huh.
In the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover.
So on the 14th day of the first month at evening, they had already did this, is the Lord's Passover. This isn't a feast day either. They had already mentioned this by the time we get to this Leviticus. This is already written. If you had the writings of Moses, then you would have all 5 books and you would know, you know what I'm saying, that Genesis, then Exodus tells the story of them leaving and the Lord gave them the 10 commandments. Basically right after they left up out of, we're going to read that though. We're going to see it right when they left up out of Egypt. But go ahead.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
So now he's getting into the feast days. And he got the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Pentecost, and we've dealt with those days. All right? So let's skip over to verse 23.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month.
So now he's saying, and this is the season, the 7th month. Now you might say, so you telling me today, because this is when we're blowing the trumpet, you telling me today is the 7th month? Absolutely, I would say that. Today is the first day of the 7th month. How do you know that? Number one, months are determined by the new moon. That's where you get your word month from. So today is a new moon. That's number one. Number two, why are we in the 7th month? Because God don't start his year in January. That's what man does. Man does that based off the goddess Janus. Janus was a Greek god that had 2 faces, one that faced forward and one that faced backwards. And it's a whole nother story that go with that. And they chose that as their day for the new year. But God had already given a new day for the new year. Okay? And it's in the unleavened bread season. Okay? But go ahead, keep reading.
In the first day of the month shall ye have a Sabbath.
So he's saying on this particular day we're going to have a Sabbath. Okay, so we're going to go to church. Go ahead.
A memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation.
Right, go ahead.
Ye shall do no servile work.
Now on this day, he didn't say don't do no work like he said for the 10 Commandments. For the weekly Sabbath. He said no servile work. Because it's going to be work that's going to need to be done when we pulling off these feast days. Or even this Memorial Day. Okay? Meaning, like, for example, and we're going to read a little later, like, we see that these people even, ate food and, they had a festive time at this particular day. We'll get there. But go ahead.
But ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Right. All right. So now let's go to Psalm chapter 81 now. Psalm chapter 81. Psalm chapter 81. It's in the middle of your Bible for those that aren't that familiar, but that's probably the most familiar book in the Bible. It's probably Psalm. Yep, and that's always in the middle. It's the longest. It's 150 chapters. Psalm chapter 81, and we're going to read verses 1, 2, and 3. And when you get there, now Sean, Jacob, go ahead and read.
Sing aloud unto God our strength.
Yep.
Make a joyful noise unto the God of Jacob.
Yes.
Take a psalm and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery.
With the psaltery.
Psaltery.
Like, you see how that's psalm?
Yeah.
Yeah,
my fault.
right.
Psaltery.
Psalm is music, too. I'm not sure exactly the definition of psalm or what it relates back to, but I think it's songs. You know what I mean? And so, psaltery, psalm, both of them dealing with music. But go ahead.
Blow up the
psaltery, I think, is an instrument. But go ahead.
Blow up the trumpet in the new moon.
So notice what we're doing in the new moon, and it's not just the 7th month. We blow the trumpet for every new moon, biblically. When I say we, first of all, we don't necessarily do it He's really giving the ordinance to the priest. You know what I mean? Now, we could. It's not, I talked to a brother, they doing stuff in the Bible. They do everything all the way down to the nick and cranny. You know what I mean? Every single thing doesn't matter, and they still have a good understanding. So I'm not going to take away from the fact that people will blow the trumpet every month. You know what I mean? But here it's saying blow up the trumpet in the new moon. What else, though?
In the time appointed on our solemn feast day.
Right. So there's only one time, though, he's referring to here that's a solemn feast day, and that's the memorial, the blowing of the trumpet. It's just a second witness. So let's go to Exodus chapter 19. And what we're going to get in Exodus 19 is the first time you're going to find the trumpet in the Bible. Period, point blank. First time you find the trumpet even in the Bible. And the first time you find this trumpet in the Bible, it is announcing the coming of God to the earth to talk to the people. That's what's about to happen. We're gonna see this trumpet, and when this trumpet get blown, then we're gonna let it tell his own story, but God gonna speak. So let's go ahead. We got quite a bit of reading, so I'm not gonna do a whole lot of talking today, but I'm gonna make sure that we do get a fairly decent understanding of the memorial blowing of the trumpet. Go ahead. Oh, where we gonna start? Exodus chapter 19, verse 7 through 20. So when you get there, go ahead.
And Moses came and called for the elders of the people.
So this is after they left out of Egypt, and they crossed over to the Red Sea. Ain't that what the sea they crossed over? Yeah. And they crossed over the Red Sea, and now they saved. You know what I mean? And when I say they saved, because the Lord said in Exodus 17, I think, or 16, see your salvation. You know what I mean? Now, once they done got over there, they got baptized through the sea. You know what I mean? These are parallels that you'll find in the Bible. Them going through the Red Sea was their baptism. And once they got over there, their salvation was sitting there waiting on them. God was their salvation. He was waiting on them to get over here. Moses was down in Egypt, and he kept telling them, he was like, yo, let my people go so they can serve their God. Well, our God was out there in the wilderness waiting on us to get there. Okay? So, now in this particular time, Moses came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. Go ahead, verse 8.
And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord hath spoken we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
And let them wash their clothes.
Right. So they about to sanctify themselves, set themselves apart. They got to wash their clothes. That's why, it'd be funny, but, you might not have the greatest of clothes, but we're going to keep them clean, especially if we're going to go to church. You know what I mean? Why? Just because we see it here. You know what I mean? Real talk. Just because we see it here. But go ahead.
And be ready against the third day. For the third day the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai.
Yes.
And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think they're at Mount Sinai. Yeah, they're at Mount Sinai. And the Lord is saying, if anybody, once I make my presence known here, and you come to me and we can start conducting our business that we got, don't nobody even need to touch this mountain. You touch this mountain, it's death on you. Go ahead.
There shall not be a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through.
Man, that's crazy. They didn't even have pistols. Talking about shooting them. But keep reading.
Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet sounded long, they shall come up to the mount.
See, so they're going to once they hear that trumpet, now it's time to be in order. We prepared ourselves, and now it's time to be in order once you hear that trumpet. So you prepare yourself. And I keep saying it that way because these trumpets come later, and it's the same thing. It's the same idea. You prepare yourself. You sanctify yourself. You get yourself together so that when them trumpets come, you ready. Because you don't want to be like them 10 virgins, like 5 of them virgins in Matthew 25. When the Lord came, they wasn't ready. They had to go get some oil. The Lord handled his business, and you missed the boat. So they had to prepare themselves so that when they hear the trumpet, then they know what to do. When that trumpet sound long. Verse 14.
And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes.
Right.
And he said unto the people, Be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives.
Right. So this is a part of sanctification, because when you read in the law, he tells you later in the books, he says, hey, when you lie down with your wife, you weren't clean till evening. So he like, look, you don't even need to come to your wives right now. That's why we don't do that on the Lord high days. You know what I mean? Because you making yourself unclean on a high day. This day is supposed to be given to the Lord, sanctified, kept holy. And you might say, well, the bed is undefiled. I understand that, but you're still unclean when you lie down with your wife. Man and woman, they both unclean and they got to go do something till evening. When the man, well, go ahead, keep reading.
And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightning, and a thick cloud upon the mount.
And it's crazy too, because like how it was like thunders and lightning, right? And that's how I say man be robbing God. Like this what Odin and Zeus and you know what I'm saying? Stuff like they have lightnings and thunders. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go into mythology, they get this from because this is what the Creator had when He come on the scene. But anyway, what verse?
16.
Go ahead.
And the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud.
Okay, read it. Start 16 over.
And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightning, and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceedingly loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled.
Right, so that trumpet gonna be loud. You know what I mean? Like, and when I say that trumpet gonna be loud, for those that don't, like, you know, for those that don't know, we reading something now, and it's gonna take us into the future. This is what God does with His holy days. He brings you into the future. We just going back to get the origin, so that when we get to the future, we can have a clear understanding. Because we don't need the past to direct our steps in the future. You understand? And what I mean by that is the past is directing our steps. But I'm saying we don't need it. I guess I could say that the other way. We use the past to direct our steps in the future. That's probably a better way of saying that. But meaning we gonna be able to see future events, and we gonna be told what to do in the future too. That's what we getting at. So anyway, go ahead. What verse?
17. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the neither part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly.
Go ahead.
And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long, and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice.
Tell something else we were peeping out too. That it's gonna be. It ain't gonna just be no taps, no dun dun dun. It's gonna be when it said long, and then it said, and Moses spake, and God answered by a voice. Go ahead.
And the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai.
So now we see after the trumpet was blown, God came down. God came. And the thing about it is, all these other nations, they had to build statues for their God. Children of Israel was building statues for their God. You know what I mean? And or what they were trying to call God. But God Himself came. Nobody else, no other nationality or nation or religions or what can do this. Keep reading.
On the top, and the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount, and the Lord called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up.
Right, and they chopped it up. Let's keep it moving. Let's go now to Numbers chapter 10. Numbers chapter 10. Numbers chapter 10, verse 1 through 10. And again, we're looking at the trumpet, the alarm. Numbers chapter 10, and we're going to read verse 1 through 10. And when you get there, go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Make thee 2 trumpets of silver.
This later. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
Of a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly.
So notice what else we use the trumpet for. The trumpet is for the calling of the assembly. So that daddy don't have to be in the room, brother Jedi don't have to be in the room. Hey! You know what I mean? We just blow a trumpet. Everybody gonna get to it. That's what we need. We need a nice loud bugle. But go ahead.
And for the journeying of the camps.
Uh-huh.
And when they
So
shall
they was out there in the wilderness, there's a bunch of them. So it's like, if we blow the trumpet, now it's time to go. Okay, go ahead.
and when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to thee at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Uh-huh.
And if they blow but with one trumpet, then the princes, which are heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto thee.
Yes.
When ye blow an alarm,
Uh-huh.
then the camps that lie on the east part shall go forward.
Uh-huh.
When ye blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journey.
Go ahead.
But when the congregation is to be gathered together, ye shall blow, but ye shall not sound an alarm.
Uh-huh.
And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generation.
Right, because when they blowing it, they like, okay, so obviously they blowing it and they sounding an alarm. And then he said, and the sons of Aaron, the priest, verse 8, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generation. So we just showing you like all the time these trumpets always was like an indicator for them. You hear that trumpet all the time. Keep reading.
And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresses you,
Uh-huh.
then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpet,
Uh-huh.
and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies.
That's deep. Go ahead.
Also in the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days.
So notice what he said. In your day, your gladness, your solemn days. Go ahead.
And in the beginnings of your month,
Uh-huh.
ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offering, and over the sacrifices of your peace offering, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God.
Right. So he telling you that this trumpet, that's what it is. It's the hearing of this trumpet is a memorial to our God. You know what I mean? Like, think like man got like statues and stuff as memorials. But when we blow this trumpet, it's like a memorial to our God. Joshua chapter 6. Joshua chapter 6. So we're going to read verse 1 through 24. Joshua chapter 6. And so when we go to Joshua chapter 6, we're going to bear witness to the trumpets in action. You know what I'm saying? We're going to see a story when they blew the trumpet, what happened here. And this particular story, though, is them finally getting the promised land. And the reason I'm bringing that to attention is because the way God operates, everything we looking at so far is relevant for the future. Just like the trumpet blow, and we saw in Exodus, God was coming. You know what I'm saying? He presented himself with Moses. Now we're going to see the trumpet here, and we're going to see them take the city. Just like we're going to bear witness later that when the Lord returns, he's going to blow the trumpet, and he's going to take the world. We're going to see later, he's going to blow the trumpet, he's going to return. So these are the things that the trumpets are for. So Joshua chapter 6, verse 1 through 24. What's that, all of it? Almost. Enjoy. Let's go.
Now Jericho
So Jericho is the name of the city that they're about to take. Go ahead.
were straitly shut up because of the children of Israel. None went out, and none came in.
Right, they were scared because the children of Israel was whooping everybody else. So it's like they done ran up on Jericho now. And when I say the children of Israel, God was doing the whipping. You know what I mean? He had an angel with him and everything. It gets so cold that one day Joshua look up and he see an angel with a sword in his hand. And he like, whose side you on? He like, bro, what you mean? You know what I'm saying? My job, I'm whose side you on? My job out here is to see, basically take care of the Lord's business. Destroy his enemies. You know what I'm saying? So the Lord had an angel out there fighting with us. We don't even know all of this. You know what I mean? As the naked eye, we don't know this. But go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Joshua, See, I have given into thy hand Jericho, and the king thereof, and the mighty men of valor.
Yes.
And ye shall compass the city, all ye men of war, and go round about the city once. Thus shalt thou do 6 days.
So he's saying you're going to go around the city of Jericho one time, and you're going to do this 6 days. Then what?
And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of ram's horns.
Uh-huh.
And the 7th day ye shall compass the city 7 times, and the priest shall blow with the trumpets.
So this time, you're going to walk around Jericho 7 times on the 7th day, and you're going to blow this trumpet each time, 7 times. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, And when they hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him.
So the walls of Jericho going to be destroyed. Go ahead.
And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests, and said unto them, Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram horns before the ark of the Lord. And he said unto the people, Pass on, and compass the city, and let him that is armed pass on before the ark of the Lord.
Right, because they had the ark of the covenant with them, and it was like, if y'all got weapons, y'all go before the ark. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, when Joshua had spoken unto the people, that the 7 priests, bearing the 7 trumpets of ram horns, passed on before the Lord, and blew with the trumpets, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord followed them. And the armed men went before the priests that blew with the trumpet, and the rearward,
like the back,
came after the ark, the priests going on and blowing with the trumpet. And Joshua had commanded the people, saying, Ye shall not shout, nor make any noise with your voice. Neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth.
Man, you know how hard that is? That's playing. You know how we playing that quiet game? Don't say nothing. Go ahead.
Until the day I bid you shout.
Right, then until I tell you to shout. Because, like, that's how we want to. We going to be in silence until I'm told to shout. Go ahead.
Then shall ye shout. So the ark of the Lord compassed the city, going about it once, and they came into the camp and lodged in the camp.
And they carrying the ark. It's like a throne, really. You know what I mean? Like what a king would sit on. You know what I mean? So they carrying this around with the priest, and they walk around on the 7th day, 7 times blowing this trumpet. Go ahead.
And Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of the Lord. And 7 priests, bearing 7 trumpets of ram horns before the ark of the Lord, went on continually, and blew with the trumpets. And the armed men went before them, but the rearward came after the ark of the Lord, the priests going on and blowing with the trumpet.
Keep reading.
And the 2nd day they compassed the city once, and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they rose early about the drawing of the
dawning of the day.
Sorry,
It's
about
okay.
the dawning of
Don't
the day,
apologize. Just read.
and compassed the city after the same manner 7 times.
Right, so they did it the same way, 7 times. Go ahead.
Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priests blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, Shout.
So they would have to be quiet all the time. And then Joshua would say, Now shout. Go ahead.
For the Lord have given you the city.
So with this blowing of the trumpet the 7th time, the Lord done gave them the city. He done destroyed the Jericho, knocked their walls down. Go ahead.
And the city shall be accursed, even it.
And then he said, this city is a curse. Go ahead.
And all that are therein to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot shall live. She and all that are with her in the house.
Right.
Because she hid the messengers that we sent.
Go ahead.
And ye in any wise keep yourselves from the accursed thing. Yes, ye make yourselves accursed. When ye take up the accursed thing and make the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it.
Go ahead.
For all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are consecrated unto the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord.
Right, because they're going to burn it and do it. You know, they're going to take all that stuff and make it, you know what I'm saying? They can burn that stuff and purify it back down. That's why he said it can be consecrated. You know what I mean? But everything else, to kill it. And that's what he said for this. Because in the other time, he told them, don't take nothing. And Achan did. Got his whole family chopped off. Matter of fact, I think they come a little later. Go ahead.
So the people shouted when the priest blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city.
Remember, they had the ones who had weapons in front, so you know what I mean? You know what they about to do. They on a killing spree. Go ahead.
And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox, and
That's scandalous. We killing everything, men and women. You know what I'm saying? The children. We ain't saving none alive. I don't even want the animals. Go ahead.
And ox, and sheep, and ass, with the edge of the sword. But Joshua had said unto the 2 men
that had to be one bloody day, boy. Go ahead.
That had spied out the country, go into the harlot's house, and bring out thence the woman, and all that she had, as ye swore unto her. And the young men that were spies went in, and brought out Rahab, and her father, and her mother, and her brethren, and all that she had. And they brought out all her kindred, and left them without the camp of Israel.
Go ahead.
And they burnt the city with fire, and all that was therein. Only the silver, and the gold, and the vessels of brass and of iron, they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord.
Right. They left with some banks. So let's go to Matthew chapter 24 now. So what we did first was we saw the first trumpet in the Bible. Like if you were to Google what's the first, or if you were to use a concordance and you want to find the first place a trumpet is, it's in Exodus, chapter 19. I can get one of those water. It's in Exodus chapter 19. And then we looked here at Jericho because we saw, because we was in Numbers and we just saw how they used the trumpet. But we go to Jericho in Joshua chapter 6 and we just see how it was executed one day. But this particular day is showing you something for the future. And we're going to get that. We seen 7 trumpets. They did this. They went around 7 days to blow these trumpets. Basically 7 trumpets. Even on the 7th day, they had 7 trumpets to be blown. Okay? And we saw that once that happened, the city of Jericho was taken by God. These are some of the things that we've seen so far when you look at what is the trumpet in the Bible. You know what I mean? That's what you're really talking about. Like, what is the trumpet in the Bible? Okay, well, bang, this is what we done seen so far. It's all that's in here. Okay, we done touched it. So now we're going to go to Matthew chapter 24, because Matthew chapter 24, this is going to get us to more present day. You know what I mean? Like, what is the trumpet for us today? Like, what is, and it's still, as we have our, that's fine, as we have our, as we do our memorial, whatever, this is cold. We're having our memorial, like we still look back and recognize what God did with the trumpets in the past, just like we just did. You know what I mean? But it still has such a greater significance in the future for doing something, a larger scale, okay? So we're here in Matthew chapter 24, and we're going to pick this up in verse 3, and we're going to skip through it a little bit. When you get there, take off, bro.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives,
yes,
the disciple came unto him privately,
right,
saying, Tell us, when shall these things be?
What things be?
And what shall...
No, I'm asking you, what things be?
What, the end of the world?
Nope. The destruction of the temple.
Oh.
I'm just trying to see how good you are, how versed you are with the book.
Mm-hmm.
So the disciples was walking with Jesus, and they showed him the temple that had been built, the second temple. The first temple that we talk about is Solomon's temple. That's how we refer to it. Like if you was to Google it or something, you know what I'm saying? It would be called Solomon's temple. Even if you look in the back of your Bibles and you look at different pictures, it'll show you what Solomon's temple looked like, okay? But then that temple was destroyed. That's the one that David had built, okay? Meaning when I say David had built, he accumulated the goods to build it. He asked, could he build it? But really, the Lord was like, you got too much blood on your hand, whatever, let your son do it, Solomon. So Solomon built the temple, it was destroyed. So this temple number 2 that Jesus and them seeing, this second temple was here. It was built after the children of Israel went into what's called the Babylonian captivity. Then after that, they got out of Babylonian captivity, were allowed to go back into the land by the Medo-Persian dynasty or empire. And they were even allowed and told to build a temple again. So this temple that they built, now the disciples are here 400, 500, 600 years later, and they're showing Jesus this temple. And Jesus say, man, this temple ain't even going to sit no more. It's going to get destroyed. Okay? So he said, and so, verse 3 again now.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?
Right. So now you see the end of the world. You knew it was there, but when he say, tell us what should these things be, it's talking about the destruction of that temple. Mm-hmm. We would have read that prior in verse 2. Mm-hmm. And what is the sign of your coming? Now think about something. In Exodus 19, we saw the coming of the Lord. When they sanctified themselves, remember I was like, you got to get prepared for that. You know what I'm saying? We saw the coming of the Lord, but he didn't come like how he going to come in the complete end. He came to the children of Israel to do a bid. He was like, yo, here go the law. You understand? Okay, which when he come back, he going to bring the law. But then we also saw the trumpet destroy a city. So now if you pay attention, it says, tell us when should these be and what is the sign of thy coming and the end of the world. So what we're going to learn is just like in the past, a trumpet allowed us to see this happen. Same thing in the future. Y'all getting this? All right. Praise God. Go ahead. Keep reading. What verse are we at?
4.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you.
Uh-huh.
For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many.
What we talking about as we get to the end of the world, this going to happen. What else?
And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet.
What else?
For nation shall rise against nation,
Yes, sir.
and kingdom against kingdom.
Yep.
And there shall be famines and pestilence, and earthquakes in divers places.
That's why it's not crazy that the pandemic just ran through here. I guess technically we've been waiting on it. That's like a pestilence. You know what I mean? Like, so we just say that to say, like, we're approaching the end. Go ahead.
All these are the beginning of sorrow.
But he said it's just the beginning of the sorrows. Let's skip down to verse 14 and 15. Go ahead.
And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached.
So before the Lord can come back, before the end of the world, the gospel got to be preached too. We doing that. We doing it now. Go ahead.
In all the world for a witness unto all nations.
Yes.
And then shall the end come.
Go ahead.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation.
This the Antichrist that everybody be talking about. And this ain't no Damien 666. Y'all don't even know what that is. You know what I'm saying? But that's a little a movie they had come out called The Omen some years ago. I was a little kid. And they was trying to give us a depiction of the Antichrist. And he might have been close to the military leader more than the Antichrist. The Antichrist comes from a religious place. The Antichrist is actually going to come from the Roman Catholic Church. That's where he's going to come from. But go ahead.
Spoken of by Daniel the prophet.
And you learn about the Antichrist or the abomination of desolation as it's referred to in Matthew 24 in Daniel, the book of Daniel. So if you somebody that just deal with the New Testament, that's going to be a problem. You're going to run across Christians who don't deal with the Old Testament. That's why they won't keep the Sabbath. You see? But if you don't deal with the Old Testament, how you going to understand out the New this abomination of desolation, though? It's in the Old Testament. So if you're going to go back to the Old Testament to understand that, you need to be in the Old Testament to understand everything then. What verse?
15.
Finish that.
Stand in the holy place.
Uh-huh.
Whoso readeth, let him understand.
All right, so let's skip down to verse 21.
For then shall be a great tribulation,
Uh-huh.
such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be.
So as the Lord comes back, we're going to run into what's called a great tribulation. It's going to be after this abomination of desolation, after the Antichrist pop up and do his works. All right. And then it says, for then should be a great tribulation like no other time ever. So not even what happened in Egypt going to compare to what's going to happen when he returns. And I'm using that as a point of reference because the reality is, and we're going to learn more tomorrow at church, is that the same way that the Lord brought them plagues through Egypt, we're going to see that today. He's going to bring them plagues through this world. But go ahead.
And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved.
So the Lord didn't stop this great tribulation. And when I mean stop it, it's a 3.5-year sentence, you know? And when I say sentence, because it's already, the Lord already said it's going to be 3.5 years. If it would have went 7, man would have killed themselves. If it went 4, man would have killed themselves. The reason that I refer to the number 7 is because some scholars would like to say that the Great Tribulation is 7 years, and then you're going to get raptured in the middle of that. Oh, that's foolishness. Ain't no rapture. The one thing you do not find in the Bible is Trinity and rapture. I guess the two things. They're just not in the Bible. Okay? Everything good over there? Okay, go ahead. Keep reading.
But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
Uh-huh.
Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not.
So now if people start saying, yo, Christ over there in Mecca, Christ over there in Jerusalem, Christ over there in Rome, Christ in South Africa, Christ is in America, don't believe that. Because he just like in Exodus 19, when Christ came, because that was Christ back then, it was a loud alarm. It ain't gonna be no misunderstanding when Jesus Christ returns. That's the one thing. It's in other pages of the Bible, it said that you're gonna look at him who they pierced. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't gonna be no confusion when he come back. Go ahead. Verse 25.
Behold, I have told you before, where if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth.
Right.
Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not.
Uh-huh.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where we at now?
You said 25.
Okay, yeah, you good. We'll
I'm
jump.
at 27.
Okay, 27. Thank you.
For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west.
So what he's saying, as you see lightning, we saw lightning in Exodus 19, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
See how God be doing the book? And you want to know, do you have the truth? You see what I'm saying? Like, God be, man, witness on top of witness, showing you, proving himself. Go ahead.
So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
You gonna see just like you see lightning, you're not gonna miss Jesus. Go ahead.
For wheresoever the carcass is, there will be the eagles be gathered together.
Remember they took Jericho when we were talking about how many people was gonna die? Right. Just like even in the end, it's gonna be so many dead, you're gonna have the eagles to come clean their bodies up. Ain't gonna be no people out here burying all these dead. It's just too many. You know, that's what they do at war. They bury their dead on the battlefield. They used to. I don't know. I mean, that was like World War II. You know what I'm saying? It's a different way. Now they don't. I don't think they do that anymore. I think they try to get the dead home now, bury them here. But go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened,
right,
and the moon shall not give her light,
yeah,
and the stars shall not fall from heaven,
right,
and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken.
Keep going.
And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Go ahead.
And he shall send his angels with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the earth, from one end of heaven to the other.
So notice what we saw there. He said that he shall send his angel with the great sound of a trumpet. Then with some shabby trumpets we heard today. Yeah. When the Lord sent his trumpets, they're going to be loud with a great sound of the trumpet. What did he say else?
And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
And that's how we're going to know the Lord back. We're going to hear that trumpet. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 1, verse 14 through 18. Zephaniah 1, 14 through 18. When you get there, you can start reading. Zephaniah 1, 14 through 18. Go ahead.
The great day of the Lord is near.
Mm-hmm.
It is near, and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath.
So this day we talking about the Lord coming back when he blowing that trumpet. It's a day of wrath. Go ahead.
A day of trouble and distress. A day of wasteness and desolation. A day of darkness and gloominess. A day of clouds and thick darkness.
Yeah.
A day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers.
You see what he just did? He said it's a day. He said a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced city. Ain't that what happened at the walls of Jericho? It was a day of trumpet and alarm for that fenced city. The walls was up to protect the city. That's how they built cities back then. You just can't come in there. That's how you got your little drawbridge. Like you see, like Lord of the Rings, I think you had a little castle like that. They built whole cities, you know, say even Jerusalem had a wall around it, you know. And he say that day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness, a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. That's why I say you go back to the past and you see what the Lord doing, then he going to bring it to the future for you so you know it's his signature. You know what I'm saying? It's his mark to let you know this is me doing it. I did it before, I'm going to do it again. Go ahead.
And I will bring distress upon men.
Yeah.
That they shall walk like blind men.
Ooh, that's scary.
Because they have sinned against the Lord.
So he gave you a reason why he coming back killing. Because man been sinning. See, God don't like what go on this planet. All the foolishness that go on. That we are forced to accept. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like this. We sit down here like Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot was vexed with what he was around. Don't ever get comfortable with society and their rules. Don't get comfortable with that. You challenge it. You challenge it in your mind. You see if it measures up to what God is saying or not. Go ahead.
And their blood shall be poured out as dust, as their flesh of the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath.
Man, God no man. Man would try to buy themselves up out this trouble. He said, nah, your money can't save you. Go ahead.
But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedily riddance of all them that dwell in the land.
That's a cold piece when he say a speedy riddance. That means this ain't going to take long. You know what I'm saying? Let's go look at it, though. Revelation chapter 8. Revelation chapter 8. When I say we're going to go look at it, we're going to look at this speedy riddance. It ain't going to take long. The Lord going to come back and smash this place. That's why it irks me to hear a rapture. Because you think God need to secretly take away his church? Like, when he be operating in secret? I ain't never seen God operate in secret. God had prophets down here that would let your prophet prove himself before his prophets proved themselves. And then we make it so bad. And the story that I'm thinking of, I think it was either Elijah or Elisha. It might have been Elijah. I don't remember which one. But it showed they made some woods catch on fire after they done wet it. After they challenged the other people God, though. Said, where your God at? Maybe he took a long vacation or something. So what I'm getting at is God don't be doing nothing in secret. He always make himself known. So why he got to have a secret rapture? That don't make a lot of sense to me. It's foolishness. That's a lie. Revelation chapter 8. Revelation 8, and pick it up at verse 1 and 2. When you get there, go ahead.
And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets.
Yeah.
And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense.
All right, that's good. So look, Revelation, what Revelation is, it's the revelation of Jesus Christ. This is how a book starts, which the Father gave to him, which Jesus gave to the angel to give to John. Now, John is on the island of Patmos, and he like watching TV. He having a vision. You know what I mean? Like, maybe not like the screen TV, but you know how you got the projector and you get to just like that. He watching TV. He's seeing everything. Okay? It's not real. It's not real time. You dig what I'm saying? It's like a dream almost. And then he gonna write it all down for you. Okay? So, one of the things that he saw in his vision was God was on the throne. And he had these seals. It was a book with some seals in it. And when somebody finally opened up the seals, it unleashed the Antichrist. Or it showed you the Antichrist and what is to happen when he comes. You know what I'm saying? That's where you get your that's where you get your pale horse and your different horses. You know what I'm saying? The black horses, all that. These were the seals. So the seals come before what Revelations refer to as the trumpets. Seals, trumpets. So then, verse 1 says, and when he had opened the 7th seal, so it was 7 trumpets. It was 7 seals. But when he got to the 7th seal, John, that is, when he saw what was happening with the angels opening it, or whoever opened it, it was like, it was quiet for a minute. And then he was like, and that's significant. Why is this significant? Because it's like we was at the Tower of Babel. Shh. And then here come the trumpets. You know what I'm saying? So the 7th seal started the wrath of God. Because the Antichrist with the first 6 seals, or the first 4 or 5 seals, had already been bringing his wrath. See, when you get in Matthew 24, you see it was like this, like the worst time ever. Great tribulation. So the Antichrist, the abomination of desolation, he's going to start it. And while he's doing his thing, then here come these seals. Bang. And now we get to the 7th. And when he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw 7 angels were stood before God. This is John talking. And to them were given 7 trumpets. Verse 6. Can y'all cut that down a little bit, please? Verse 6.
And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up.
Okay, so now when these trumpets started getting blown, now remember it was 7 trumpets when they walked around Jericho, but and eventually they destroyed the city. But here, when he bring these trumpets, it's like how he bringing that wrath down on Egypt, because that matter too. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. We're gonna learn more tomorrow, just like we're gonna learn because this is the abridged version of today's lesson. You know. But it's just like we're going to see that each trumpet had a vial of wrath. That's what you find in Revelation 16. For those that are, watching YouTube, whatever, take notes. This Revelation 8, go with Revelation 16. The trumpets go with each trumpet has a vial of wrath with it. Okay? In this case. And this first vial of wrath you see in here, verse 7, the first angel sounded, and this is from God, and it was hail and fire mingled with blood. This is what he saw, and it was cast upon the earth, and a third of the trees was burnt up. So as the Lord is returning, he's going to destroy a third of the trees and all the grass. What else he going to do? Verse 8.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. So
now we got a third of our agriculture destroyed by God. And we got a third of the sea. The sea messed up now. You know what I'm saying? Like, however he messed it up. It's messed up now. Third of the animals out there dead. Go ahead.
And the third part of the ships were destroyed.
So whatever he did to the seas, he destroyed the animals and the ships that was out there. That's probably because here's the thing about the seas. That's where today your modern warfare is based around the water. This is, World War II did this. And you have what they call aircraft carriers. These are like little miniature army bases. Not army, but I'm giving you an ideal of it. Miniature bases. But it's like a transport base. We can get as America, we can get a whole military army over here with this aircraft carrier. Our planes, basically, though, from here, and we can get them to Japan. We can get them to Asia, or we can get them over there to the Europe area. So that's what's out in the water. So if the Lord coming back, because actually the Lord back right now. We didn't look at the seals, but at the 6th seal, the Lord had came back. So it's like now. It's a little, the Lord like bombing on the seas right now. You see what I'm saying? Like, but forget your aircraft carriers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what you got. Ineffective. Go ahead, verse 10.
And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of water. And the name of the star.
Now we messing with your fresh water. That's what the rivers is. See, the seas, you don't drink that water. So now he dealing with the fresh water. But go ahead.
And the name of the star is called wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
That's why he's saying, because the water, you couldn't drink it. See, if that happened to the sea, like that's not fresh water. We're not drinking that. So he affected 2 things. You know what I mean? Verse 12.
And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened.
So whereas they walked around Jericho once a day, now we seeing a whole lot more other stuff that's happening. And here's the thing: when you got some understanding, you realize that when they was walking around Jericho, it was angels with them anyway. So it was already a battle going on probably every day before they finally just collapsed the city. Just one you couldn't see with the naked eye. But that's just on another note. But verse 12, read that again.
And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened. And the day shone not for a third part of it. and the night likewise.
Man, this is just bad. That's all I can say for that. That's my description of this. Just bad. But go ahead.
And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice,
What'd he say?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You ain't loud. Go say it again. What'd he say?
Whoa!
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa!
Right.
Whoa!
Right. Go ahead.
To the inhabitants
Uh-huh.
of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound.
So what he's saying here is the four angels sounded, and that was bad. But we got three more angels in this. From this point on, it only get rougher. That's what he about to tell you. Let's keep going into chapter 9.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth.
Uh-huh.
And to him was given the key of the bottomless
Stop. I'm
pit.
sorry. Start 9 over again.
And the fifth angel sounded,
Uh-huh.
and I saw a star fall from heaven
So now we at the fifth angel. He said he saw a star fall from heaven. Go ahead.
unto the earth.
Uh-huh.
And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit.
Uh-huh.
And he opened the bottomless pit unto the earth.
Go ahead. Keep
And
reading.
there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the earth were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
Uh-huh.
And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth.
Okay, so now as we get this fifth trumpet, he was like, he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by the reason of the smoke. What's about to happen now is we getting ready for war. That's what's happening. And he said, and that same thing even with the fourth trumpet. Because really at the end of the day, the Lord had already returned. So it's like man showing you already with their movies, they thought process. They ready to fight. So that's what's going on right here. They're getting ready to fight the Lord back now, because the Lord put his little damage out here, big damage. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose, verse 2, a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And unto them were given power as scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they shall not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So right now, we get this locust that you see. Number one, if you go back to Exodus and you watch when the children of Israel was leaving Egypt, which is the same parallel, he said locusts through there. But see, those was locusts. I'm talking about the grass-eating locusts. But these locusts right here is what John, his best description of what he see. And what we're about to see is military planes. You know what I mean? And they with missiles and bullets, guns on them and stuff. Because they getting ready for war. Go ahead. What verse?
5.
Uh-huh.
And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months.
Uh-huh.
And the torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man.
Right. So, and what we also learn when you're reading Revelation, when you're trying to understand Revelation, is that by the time you get to this point, we got 5 months left, at least. You know what I mean? Before the Lord return. But when we say return, if you go back a chapter prior to Revelation chapter 6, and you actually look at the seals, verse 12 through 17 shows you that the sixth seal, the Lord had come. So he's here. The heavens don't roll back like a scroll. That's what you got to understand about when you see these trumpets, that God is here already. You see? So they just ready to fight him. And they haven't, man done had, you got Europe and you got Russia and China and all those. They have been trying to rule the world. But now you got this alien, a brother, and his angels coming to take over what y'all been fighting over. So they still fighting with each other, and now they want to fight with him, just like they do in the movies. Now the world come together when they see a common enemy. When they say the enemy of your enemy is my friend, don't believe that. The enemy of my enemy is just my enemy's enemy. You know what I mean? He my enemy, he your enemy. But anyway, go ahead. What verse?
6.
Uh-huh.
And in those days shall men seek death,
Yep.
and shall not find it.
So what I was saying in verse 5, when it said that to them was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, that it's going to be at least 5 months where the Lord just going to be here. That amazes me, you know? And then he said, and what's going on here, he was like, man, they got some type of chemical warfare, something going on where it's gonna have people ready to die and they can't die. Verse 7, 6, 6.
And
6.
In those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it,
Yep.
and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Go ahead.
And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle.
Right. So he like, man, when I was looking at it, so he letting you know like these ain't no regular locusts. The shapes of the locusts is like horses prepared to battle, because that's what go out to battle. And he see war. It's the best way he can describe it. He ain't never seen no helicopter before. Look at you, like I get it, right? You know what I'm saying? Helicopters don't exist right now. Airplanes don't exist. So he doing the best. All he done seen for war is horses, and he done heard of elephants, because by this time elephants have been fighting in war. But I mean, for the most part, he just working with what he got. Go ahead.
And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold.
But that's why you got locusts with people faces, because they not locusts. They're helicopters and airplanes, things like that. Go ahead.
And their faces were as the faces of men.
Yeah.
And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions.
Yes.
And they had breastplates as it were breastplates of iron.
Right.
And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle.
Right. Like, and think about something. That's why think about how he said the sound of it was many horses like running to battle. Do you know that every motor that we build it and we say it has this many horsepower? You know where that comes from? Because they're saying, like if you had one horse, that's 1 horsepower. So you got like a carriage with 1 horse. Or if you had a carriage with 4 horses, that's 4 horsepower. So like you can ride a little fast. You got 4 horses. Get them going. You know what I'm saying? So that's the what I'm getting at is, like, that's where we get the term horsepower from. This is all they had back then. So he's saying the sound of what these helicopters are sound like horses, like a bunch of horses, which is what a helicopter do sound like when you think about it. You ain't got nothing else to compare it with. Go ahead, what verse?
10.
Uh-huh.
And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tail.
Uh-huh. Because these aren't animals, these are warplanes. Go ahead.
And their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name is the Hebrew tongue
Abaddon. Man. You know what's crazy? I can know a word until somebody read it and they don't know it. But Abaddon. You can just, and see, my Bible, does your Bible do it where it kind of space it out? See, mine does. So you got, see, it's Abaddon. You see that? Go ahead.
Abaddon.
Uh-huh.
But in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Mm-hmm.
One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter.
Right. So now they getting ready for battle, because they about to meet up at this big boy. Verse 13. Go ahead.
And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the 6th angel which hath the trump, loose the 4 angels.
So he's telling this one angel that got this trumpet, you need to loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. So obviously the Lord got angels locked up on the earth already. Just bound. That's what he say. You know what I'm saying? And they sitting there and they serve a purpose. Go ahead.
And the 4 angels were loose, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men.
So now again, we seeing that, as we get to the end, they slaying the 3rd part of man. We done seen men get wiped out a few times, because we didn't even look at the seals. Men die even then too. The count gonna be smaller. The Lord weep with the tares. You know what I'm saying? He gonna get rid of the tares. Like, that's one way of looking at it. Or like prune the hedges. That's another way of looking at it. You know how you go outside and you trim the bushes and then they gonna grow better and more, like that. You know what I'm saying? Like how women cut their split ends, you know what I mean? And so their hair can get back healthy. But go ahead.
And the number of the army of those horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of Jason. and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were the heads of lions.
Yes.
And out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone.
This is all war stuff that he talking about. But he don't know what a tank look like. He don't know what nothing look like. A stealth bomber, all the little things we got. He don't know none of that. So he could just only use what he got. Go ahead.
By these three was the third part of men killed.
Yep.
By the fire
Yep.
and by the smoke and by the brimstone
Yep.
was issued out their mouths.
Go ahead.
For their power is in their mouth and in their tails.
Yep.
For their tails was like unto serpents, and their head and had heads, and with them they do hurt.
Go ahead.
And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not.
That's crazy, man. Like the Lord said, it's almost like he said, I'm still giving you an opportunity to repent. I'm still giving you an opportunity. Go ahead.
Of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold.
And when we're talking about worshiping devils, we're talking about live the way we live now. This whole system worship devils, all the way from in God we trust. He coming to overturn this system. That's what people don't understand. The system is wrong, man. The stuff that they tell us to do is anti-Christ. But go ahead.
And idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk.
Yes.
Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their theft.
Yeah, like how we be living. This whole little Hollywood. They just be fornicating. How you gonna marry somebody then? Next thing you know, you divorce them and get married to somebody else, and then somebody else marry them. And you know what I'm saying? You show up at a party, man, and you got 3 wives and 4 husbands in this joint. You know what I'm saying? Y'all done all been together. That's fornication. And that lifestyle that's being painted on the TV screen, you know what I'm saying, from Hollywood and its stars, is perpetrated into the fabric of our society. They tell us how to live. In the 50s, we was living like Leave It to Beaver. In the 70s, we switched over to Good Times. You know what I'm saying? Now we Valley P. You know what I'm saying? We just wilding with it now. Turning into Sodom and Gomorrah. Everything we do. But anyway, let's go to, we done with Revelation now. Let's go to Revelation 11. We ain't got but like 2 more. And then after that, y'all can enjoy y'all special Sabbath. You know what I mean? Where it's a hot day. We don't have to go to work. We don't have to go to school. But you can enjoy it. You can watch a little TV if that's what you want to do like me. You know what I'm saying? I try not to get too far off to the left still. It's still the Lord's day. You know what I'm saying? Don't get too far off. Like, we're not finna be shaking it like your mama gave you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't finna be in here listening to Luke and the 2 Live Crew or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna still keep it as holy. You know what I mean? But we can celebrate and have a good time and it still be holy. All right? Revelation chapter 11, and we're going to pick this up in verse 15 through 19. We're going to look at the 7th trump. When you get there, son, take off.
And the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven, saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord.
I'm sorry, just so y'all know, because I didn't put it out there, but the 6th trump is actually Armageddon. Like, we would have had to go somewhere else to see the term Armageddon. You know what I'm saying? But that's where they're going to meet at the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And we're going to learn more about this tomorrow. You know what I mean? But that's what that would have been. But go ahead.
And of his Christ, ye shall reign forever and ever.
Right. So the 7th angel, this the last trump. You know, this that trump that you read about in Matthew 24 when he was like, yo, not, you know what I'm saying? Like, this the Lord right here. He back now. Go ahead.
And the 24 elders which sat before God on their seats fell upon their faces and worship God, saying, we give thee thanks.
Now, what we didn't do was read this, and for those that like homework, you should read this chapter. What happened in this chapter was, it starts off telling, it's still in the end, but it starts off telling you where the Antichrist going to rule from, what God gave him to rule from. And then it begins to go into the fact that the Antichrist going to have 2 adversaries, like a Moses and an Aaron type. You know what I mean? Call them the olive trees, 2 olive trees, right? And they're going to battle against the Antichrist. And they're going to live through the whole great tribulation period, except for 3.5 days before the Lord makes his final descent. Let's say that. Because he already opened up the sky in seal number 6. His final descent when he gonna touch Mount Olives, you know what I'm saying, is the 7th trump. That's what the 7th trump is. We're gonna see some more. So at any rate, and what happened is these men had been killed 3.5 days before the Lord came back. And then once they, in this particular chapter, we watched them resurrect. Like verse 11, well, verse 10, and it said, and they that dwell on the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry and shall send gifts one to another, because these 2 prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw. So when these men rose from the dead, this is the resurrection. There ain't but one resurrection. You understand? So the people that saw, they not participating in the resurrection. See, when you go to Thessalonians, it tell you the saints get resurrected. You understand? So those that was keeping the commandments, because really at the end of the day, in order for you to have participation in the first resurrection, you need to know the Bible. Because when you resurrect and when God sets you up in the kingdom, you already need to know what's in the book so that you can administer what's in the book. You're going to have to tell people this is what you do to get clean, and you're not clean here. Don't eat this, because as you see, it's still people alive at the coming of the Lord. Flesh and blood. And they had and that's another great mystery. Like, people don't understand that Jesus is setting up a kingdom amongst flesh and blood people. The Lord is saying, like, look, I'm going to show you how it was supposed to be done when I created man. Like, Satan ain't winning. See, Satan always trying to make God out to be a lie. You see what I'm saying? He's like, no, you ain't winning. You might have jacked up Adam and Eve, but don't worry. I'll make sure it get done right. So, verse 12 said, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld. In the same hour there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. And the remnant were frightened and gave glory to the God of heaven. And the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. And the 7 angels sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdom of this world. So just like at Jericho, how we took the city, now he taking the world. Go ahead.
The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord.
Just like we could say Jericho is ours now. Go ahead.
And of his Christ.
Yes, sir.
He shall reign forever and ever.
Uh-huh.
And the 24 elders which sat before God on their seats fell upon their faces and worshiped God.
Yeah.
Saying, we give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty.
And this is what the blowing of the memorial trumpets is about. Like, the Lord gonna do this. It's about, at some point, we're going to get redemption from this place. Because we shouldn't like this place. That's our problem. We don't understand that we should not like it. Keep reading.
Which art and was, and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power, and hast reigned. And the nations are angry, and thy wrath is come, in the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great.
Man, we'll be glad you put that part in there. Think about it. He said, I'm going to give reward unto the servants, the prophets, to the saints. So you might not feel like you a prophet or a saint. But then it said, and them that fear thy name, small and great. That's where we come in at. You know what I'm saying? And the 7th trump, he's giving a reward to those that did this. You know what I mean? That's why we celebrating this. Go ahead.
And shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth.
Uh-huh.
And the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there were lightning and voices and thundering and an earthquake and great hail.
That's good. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. We got 2 more after this. 2 easy. 1 Corinthians 15. Well, we got 1 easy and 1 a little longer. But none of it should be hard. And we should have like I said, this is the abridged version. Those that are watching us tonight live or tomorrow at probably starting, I think Atlanta usually rock out at 1. We're going to be 2 Eastern time on the East Coast. And and then Central, they're gonna be 1 o'clock. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna be able to give all the way to the West Coast in America. You're gonna be able to get these lessons. You go, and it's gonna be greater detail than what I'm doing. Probably another hour on top of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Most of us, about an hour and maybe another half hours, depending on where you are. You're gonna get greater detail. You're gonna really get to look into the. I just wanted to touch the surface, so we should have a decent understanding walking in there on what we're doing. But anyway, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and let's pick this up in verse 49 through 50, or through 52. We ain't got to go all the way to 55. Go ahead.
And as we have borne the image of the earthly, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly.
Meaning we flesh and blood people. Just like we flesh and blood people, we're going to be spiritual people. Like everybody. Go ahead.
Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God.
Right, you need this change to get to heaven. Go ahead.
Neither doth corruption inherit incorruption.
Right, and if you wicked, you're not going to get it at the first resurrection. Go ahead.
Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed.
How that's going to work?
In a moment, in a twinkling of an eye.
So we're not going to all stay dead. That's what sleep means. But we are going to be changed. Our bodies are going to be changed. In a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. When?
At the last trump.
At the last trump. That's the 7th trump. When they finally took the city. Go ahead.
For the trumpet shall sound.
And what's going to happen?
And the dead shall be raised incorruptible.
And then what?
And we shall be changed.
A little more.
For this corruptible must put on incorruption.
Mm-hmm.
And this mortal must put on immortality.
Go ahead. I want 54 also.
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory.
Man, 'cause that's the last enemy that got to be destroyed is death. Brothers and sisters, we ain't gonna live. We are gonna live forever. We ain't gonna die and just be dead. Like these earthly bodies gonna have to put on spiritual bodies, and you have to give account for your works, your actions. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 8. This will probably be the last one. We're not gonna read Colossians today. We don't have to do that. Nehemiah chapter 8, because Colossians is cheating. That's gonna make it 13. So I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I see we good with this. So we're gonna read Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1 through 12. And I hope that today, just like I said, I just want to start you off right. You know what I'm saying? And this is special. Lord willing, we'll come back on another special with the atonement. You know what I'm saying? Give you a little brief. I don't think anybody, maybe Brother Danny might be teaching on the atonement. I'm not sure. I think he does his atonements at night. But if he does, then I'll wait on him to pass the mic. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to infringe on anybody else's time. You know what I mean? Plus it's YouTube. You can watch it later. That's what happens most of the time anyway. Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1. Take off.
And all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake.
So here's what's going on. Nehemiah took place after the Babylonian captivity. And so we got back to the land and we just following instruction. Nehemiah and Ezra, they like the bosses. So Nehemiah get us together. All the people gathered themselves together. Actually, Ezra do. But together at one place, as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra, the scribe, to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded to Israel. So they about to go bring Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. You feel me? Go ahead.
And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding, upon the first day of the 7th month.
When?
Upon the first day of the 7th month.
What day is that?
The Feast of Trumpet.
Very good. So this is the trumpets right here. First day, 7th month. Go ahead.
And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from the morning until midday.
So they started, let's say, 8 o'clock, read till about 12. You know what I mean? 4 good hours. Go ahead.
Before the men and women and those that could understand, and the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law.
Everybody was listening. Go ahead.
And Ezra the scribe
Yeah.
stood upon a pulpit of wood.
Pulpit.
pulpit of wood,
Mm-hmm.
which they had made for the purpose.
Right.
And beside him
They
stood
made like a little stage for him to stand on so that he can do this. And beside him was who?
Mattithiah
Yeah.
and Shema
Uh-huh.
and Ananiah
Uh-huh.
and Urijah
Very good.
and Hilkiah
I'm gonna make you do them all. Go ahead.
and Hilkiah
Uh-huh.
and Maaseiah
Uh-huh.
on his right hand.
So his right side was Matthiah, Shema, Ananiah, Urijah, and Hilkiah. And Messiah was on his right hand. And on his left was who?
And on his left hand, Pedaiah
Uh-huh.
and Mishael,
And Mishael. Yep.
Mishael
Mm-hmm.
and Micaiah.
Malachi.
Oh, Malachi. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Oh,
Because you see the L.
yeah.
Micaiah don't have no L in her name. Go ahead.
And Hisham
Uh-huh.
and
Bad Adam.
Dadam,
Yeah.
Zechariah,
Uh-huh.
and Mishael.
That was a good try, bro. Go ahead. Verse 5.
And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people,
Uh-huh.
for he was above all the people.
He stood above him on the pulpit. Go ahead.
And when he opened it, all the people stood up.
And?
And Ezra blessed the Lord, the great God.
Yeah.
And all the people answered, Amen,
Uh-huh.
Amen,
Uh-huh.
with lifting up their hands.
Yeah.
And they bowed their heads and worshiped the Lord with their faces to the ground.
Uh-huh.
Also,
Joshua.
and Benai
Yeah.
and
Sherebiah.
Sherebiah, Jamin,
Jamin, yeah.
Akub,
Yeah. Well, we still got some names, don't we?
yeah,
Shabbathiah.
Sabbathiah,
Hodijah.
Hodijah,
Yeah.
Messiah,
Okay.
Kalida,
Kalida. Hey, you know how I know that one? Because somebody chose that name. That's how I be knowing some of these names. People chose the name. Like, oh, okay, that's how you say that. And what else?
Azariah,
Man, you better that's Azariah.
Azariah.
Bro. Stop playing. That's brother Azariah. We're going to respect that man. Go ahead.
Jozab,
Uh-huh.
Hannah,
Uh-huh.
Peliah,
Yeah.
and the Levites
Uh-huh.
caused the people to understand the law.
Yep.
And the people stood in their place.
Go ahead.
So they read in the book in the law of God
Distinctly.
distinctly and gave the sense
Uh-huh.
and caused them to understand the reading.
Man, with all your getting, get understanding. Go ahead.
Now Nehemiah, which is the Tushite,
Tershata. Whatever.
Tushita,
Yeah.
and Ezra the priest,
Uh-huh.
the scribe.
That word just means he was the governor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the Levites that taught the people said unto all the people,
Uh-huh.
this day is holy unto
All
the-
that. This is what we were trying to
Yeah.
get to. That this day is what?
This day is holy unto the Lord your God.
So the memorial of the blowing of the trumpet is holy unto the Lord our God. Go ahead.
Mourn not,
Yes.
nor weep,
Right?
for all the people wept.
Because after they heard it, they was like, dang. Because it's a gloomy day we talking about. Go ahead.
When they heard the words of the law.
Yeah.
Then he said unto them, Go your way, eat the fat, and drink the sweet, and send portions unto them for whom nothing is prepared.
Yep. So now they about to eat. That's he telling them. Ezra like, look, man. Then he said to them, go your way, eat the fat, drink the sweet. So this ain't just like they ain't. When you say drink the sweet, we talking about get you some wine. You know what I mean? They ain't not back there making Kool-Aid. It ain't sweet tea either. You know what I'm saying? So send your portion unto them whom nothing is prepared, because everybody wasn't prepared for this day. They was just getting back to the land they ain't know. For this day is holy unto our Lord, because they had just learned this in their reading. Neither be ye sorry, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Go ahead.
So the Levites stilled all the people, saying, Hold your peace, for the day is holy, neither be ye grieved. And all the people went their way to eat, and to drink, and to send portions, and to make great mirth, because they had understood the words that were declared unto them.
Go ahead.
And on the second day were gathered together the chief of the fathers of all the people.
That's good. So when we getting back to it, so the Levites, they told them all of them, eat. All the people went their way. They ate, they drank, they sent portion to make great mirth, because they had understood the words which were declared unto them. So brothers and sisters, I hope that you receive a better understanding than what you might have had prior walking into this. And I hope that you enjoy the day like it was told here. You know what I'm saying? All the people went their way, eat, drink, sing your portion, make great mirth, y'all. Because we got understanding of the words that's declared. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, I thank you for your time. And I guess at the end of the day, I'm going to leave you with what I always leave you with. One man water. What?
One man plant.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Another man water.
But
it's the Lord that gives the increase.
And
I thank you for your time.
Peace to you in Jesus' name, and enjoy the memorial blowing of the trumpets.
Open script and I'ma read it right. Study to show thyself approved. You got to read it right. Everyday hell, I'm just trying to show eternal life. I'm just trying to show eternal life. This burning all at midnight. Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Line upon line, line upon line. Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Line upon line, make them understand doctrine. Open script and I'ma read it right. Study to show thyself approved. You got to read it right. Everyday hell, I'm just trying to show eternal life. I'm just trying to show eternal life. This burning all at midnight. Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Line upon line, line upon line. Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Who shall teach knowledge, make them understand doctrine? Line upon line, make them understand doctrine. Open script and I'ma read it right. Study to show thyself approved. You got to read it right. Everyday hell, I'm just trying to show eternal